thanks to the three coaches who are waiting in the wing. And the first of those is Coach Ryan Beard of Missouri State. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well.
Good. Again, media, if you have a question for the coach, use your reactions button or raise your hand and we'll get right to the questions. Coach, we'll start off with Kelly Burke.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Kelly, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. With the move to FBS incoming, how has it changed how you recruited out of the portal for this year's team, still obviously playing in the Valley?
Yeah, this year I don't think it affected a whole lot. Obviously, when the news came out, we had a few guys jump in that maybe wouldn't have previously. But I feel good about how our recruiting's gone the last few years because, we talk about the talent group of the Valley. The Valley is a tremendously talented league. And I think, our top level of this league could compete with most G5s. So I think it will continue to evolve over the coming years in regards to our transition. And again, this year it wasn't a ton of change.
With Jacardier Wright, he's shown glimpses of being a dominant back in the past. Injuries have been a factor at times. In what ways have you seen him really elevate his game over the spring and the off season?
Yeah, he's had a tremendous offseason. The thing I think you'll notice about Jacardier when you see him before the game is his body configuration. I think he's really trimmed down. He's always been a powerful guy, but I think last year he may have played a little heavy. We've changed his body fat percentage significantly. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He looks really good with the ball in his hand right now, and I'm excited to see him work in fall camp.
And then finally with Jacob, give us just an update on, on his health and how, his comeback has come from that shoulder.
Jacob looks good. He's done a good job throughout the spring, summer, and moving into fall camp. We're going to put him on a little bit of a pitch count to make sure that, he continues to progress because, what you want your quarterback to want to take every throw and, take every rep of practice. That's just not what we're going to do the first few weeks at camp to make sure that he continues to progress and is ready to go when we go to Montana for our opener.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, we'll go next to Wyatt Wheeler. Hey, Wyatt.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Coach. Just kind of piggybacking on Jacob. It seemed like after every game last year, there was some kind of little nagging thing at the end of it. What have you guys done this offseason to maybe try to increase that durability so we're not questioning whether he is going to be hurt after every game so he could play a full season?
Yeah, morning, Wyatt. That's a great question because, again, you were right in there with me after every single game, and you're right. It was one after the other nicks and bruises. And I think the time off, honestly, has done him some good in regards to being able to get stronger with his lower body, do some things with his core to make sure that he's structurally sound moving into the season. Obviously, not taking any hits or doing much on the body in the spring was kind of a reset for him as well. I think he looks better than he ever has. Again, same thing with Jacardier. The new strength coach we have here, Jackson Morris, has done a phenomenal job with these guys this offseason. And I think one of the steps that we're trying to take moving our program along in various ways is our nutrition and the way we take care of our bodies and the way we treat our student athletes and what they put in their body.
What's kind of been the motivation? Well, we've asked you about this before with no playoff appearance at the end, being a possibility with the transition year. I know you'll probably use being conference champions as some motivation, but what do you have these guys playing for? What's the big message when there is no postseason chances?
Sure. First and foremost, as a competitor, you compete for each other every single day to make sure that you're putting the best film that you possibly can for each other out there to win games. For obviously your pride in yourself and your school, getting the film that you need to try to move on to the next level. But in the grand scheme, if you can win or at least be competitive in the best conference in FCS by far, that's a lot to play for. Again, you're playing perennial national champions, guys that are in the playoffs year in and year out. This is an unbelievable league that we play in, and you can do everything that you want to accomplish this year without the playoffs. And I think that'll be enough in itself, just being able to understand that you can win a conference championship, you can be home with your family by Thanksgiving, and you can be watching everybody else dominate from the Valley in the playoffs.
Do you change any way about how you go about playing guys a little bit this year, like preserving deciding to preserve the 4 games when you're redshirting, just trying to decide how you're going to build for this big jump when when just kind of what we just talked about, no playoff.
Yeah, I think the conversation of kind of who to play and who not to play will be more pressing next year. This year, everything's on the line. You can go play for a conference championship. You can go play against the best of the best, and it does matter. Hoisting a trophy at the end of the year is a big deal, especially in this conference. And I think, again, White, I think me and you will have a lot more conversation on that next year in regards to, do we play guys? Do we sit guys? Because unfortunately for us next year, there's no conference title or no bowl game possibility at all. So I think that will transition throughout the coming months.
And finally, at wide receiver, you guys thought you were losing Rayland, and you thought he was coming back, and then then he decides to go into portal again. Just how much did that change things, and who are some of these guys? You see the different power conference FBS transfers you got. Who's going to step in there and try to replace All-American talent like Rayland?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a good group there. I think they've had a tremendous offseason. James Blackstrain's a guy I've known for a long time from Georgia Tech, big body from down in Florida. He's a really good player for us. And then I really like even our returners. You know, Hunter Woods played a lot of ball here. He seems like he comes up with catches whenever we needed it most. Devontae Key has been a nice addition this offseason. He's stepped up in his role. Jamari Robinson. But you know, one of the guys I'm excited about for that role in particularly that Raylan may have left, Dash Luke, he can really move. He adds value in the return game, which is important for us because, you know, you look at Raylan's game and yes, he was dynamic in the slot, but he also added value as a punt returner. And I think we were able to do a good job by getting Dash Luke out of ULM to make sure that we have that value in there as well.
Coach, we'll go next to Corey Riggs. Hey, Corey.
Good morning, Coach. How are we doing?
Doing great, Corey. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Listening to Coach Nick Hill from Southern Illinois earlier, he was wrapping up his thoughts. He talked about maturity. I know that's been a big thing for the Bears in the offseason, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. How has this team matured from last year through this offseason?
Yeah, it sounded like I was listening to Amir on our team. We especially it was more on defense for us last year. Again, I don't know their situation at SIU, but for the Bears, it was our defensive lack of ever playing together and playing on the college stage, period. We had some guys that were taking their very first college snaps against some real football teams, and early we struggled. I think we were able to progress as the year went on, and you know, trial by fire sometimes is the best way to earn your stripes in this game that we all love. That's one of the things that I've seen throughout the spring and the summer and just moving into camp is our ability to process when it gets hard, because you know, anybody in the classroom or in the film sessions can sit there and tell you calls and alignments, assignments, but when it gets hard, you know, can we put these guys in a situation that it can mimic games enough to really press them into developing the way that they think and process on the field.
Wyatt brought up the double-digit transfer portal guys that you got from the BCS level. He talked about filling the holes at wide receiver that you're going through. I'm more curious about who is maybe a name that came through the transfer portal that's going to stand out on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody knows you could throw the ball around the yard last year in Coach Petrino's offense, but who's going to stand out and help shore up the defense?
Yeah, we were able to get some guys that transferred in that I think will do some really good things. Devon Townley, the guy from Penn State, big, great-looking young man. He does everything that you want him to do, and he does it well. I think he's still got to grow a little bit. You know, Corey just said about maturity, just understanding that you have to be able to play within the scheme as well as be able to go get after the quarterback on third down. Ryan Williams was a guy we brought in from Western Kentucky for the interior D-line, because as we all know in this league, you have to stop the run to be successful at all. If not, the good teams in this league will just run it down your throat and just make you like it. So I think it started shoring up the D-line, and we've got some guys returning that are doing a good job there too. But you asked specifically about the transfer portal. Chucky Arnold out of Coastal Carolina, will do a good job for us in the secondary, filling in some holes. And then there's a few other guys here and there that I'm excited to see.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. And we'll go next to Zach Borg. Zach?
Excuse me, Coach. Have you taken any cues or talked with any other coaches like a Casey Keeler or anybody else who's kind of been through this transition for advice or any kind of pointers about how to go through this year and then certainly the next year as you make this transition?
Yeah, not at this point. I think we need to win ball games here for our university, for our fans, for our players. We need to concentrate on the now. We can worry about all that next off season. We've still got a tremendous year ahead of us. Everything that we could, possibly want and a trophy and a ring or whatever you want to call it that we get for a championship, that's all attainable. So those are our goals right now, just making sure we do our process day by day. And then, maybe we can get on here and talk here after the season. And I would say our thoughts will shift a little bit, and I'll reach out to some mentors and some guys like that to see what advice that they can give.
And finally, what kind of a reception do you feel like you think you're going to get from the rest of your league and even the rest of the schedule? Obviously, right away you go to Montana. I mean, what do you think is going to be the reception from the other fans, the other teams? I'm sure some of them are kind of looking forward to that opportunity to, well, let's send them out with a loss. Do guys maybe even kind of look forward to that to kind of give a good parting shot on the way out of the FCS?
Yeah, I can promise you they're not going to roll over and play dead and let us win ball games. I would say the handshakes will be cordial because, again, that the FCS, especially our conference, is filled with true professionals that understand that the game is bigger than any individual relationship, and I think they'll respect and honor that. But again, we've got to show up each Saturday expecting that we're going to get people's best shots and see if we can't make something shake.